Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be upgrading those on this E90 BMW. Alright, let's get these unboxed. So if you guys weren't sure, these are BMS upgraded vacuum canisters. They go for under $200 for the set. They're aluminum, so they're not prone to failure. Alright, so there's been a lot of debate whether or not you can remove these vacuum canisters. You can hear the vacuum leaking out of them. So to remove these, there's three 10 mils. There's one bolt up here. And then you go and take a long extension on a 10 mil, and then there's a nut down here. You'll see where I'm putting the extension. Now you can lift right up on this whole bracket, and near the bottom, pull out the vacuum lines. One there. These upper vacuum lines tend to last. They don't really perish with time. These lower ones definitely do with the braiding on top of it. So this will be a good time to upgrade these or replace them if you haven't. These are in good shape because I've already refreshed them. So now you just want to get yourself a 13 mil, crack these nuts free. So after a lot of debate, I've actually made a video on this. It's recommended to keep the vacuum canisters in place because they're pivotal to accurate boost control. You can get throttle closures if you're heavily tuned, or you can have issues where if you're driving the car very aggressively and you're braking hard and then coming right back on boost, you can get erratic boost, etc. But what can happen is these can crack and split over time. Considering they're located right beside a heat source, right beside the engine and the twin turbos, they can fail with time. So either these will snap off, these nipples will snap off when you're trying to remove the line, or they'll crack. There's not much to them, but you know, after a couple 100,000 miles like on this car, you know, you probably want to do something about it if you don't want to have any issues, because it's another form of plastic or failure point which can be upgraded, and there's a new offering. We have this other nut here. So you just remove this. So these just recently came out as an option. You know, you can easily source them from BMS. I'll put a link in the description if you guys are interested. You know, you're not going to see any performance improvements. You're just going to increase your reliability and help with the looks. One less thing to worry about. If you're going in there to upgrade your vacuum lines, it may be a good time to upgrade these canisters. On the back side, there's a notch and there's the hole. That'll line up with this. Bring over the nut. So if you guys couldn't tell, I have a little bit more room to work here because I've removed my coolant reservoir and I've upgraded to an aluminum one and relocated. There's my relocated upgraded coolant expansion tank. So a long time ago I did say that whenever possible I will upgrade to aluminum and show you guys options that would increase your reliability potentially, whether it be cooling related or otherwise. So this would be something not cooling related, but still an opportunity to upgrade to aluminum. So we'll bring the vacuum line over, put it on, get them routed. Drop it down. And I may have made that look a little easier than it would have been otherwise because I have no coolant expansion tank, like I said. Because I can just reach down from here and put the nuts on. You wouldn't be able to do that normally. So keep that in mind. You're probably gonna want to put a piece of tape on an extension and then put the nut in there first and then drop your extension down, or use a magnet to get it started. Since I have some room here, I'm taking advantage of it. So I'll bring these vacuum lines over. This isn't gripping too tight because of age and this expansion on this. And they're actually long now because I'm not clipping them onto the coolant bottle. So, but either way, you'll have about a 3/8 of an inch to play with. So I'll just cut this back a little bit using a razor blade. Same story here. There you go, nice tight fit. And that's how they look on the car. This bracket was never pretty and this placement was never that great in terms of servicing the car, but you know, they do integrate nicely and they'll function just like OEM, yet they won't fail on you. So if you're still running your factory solenoids and you're running stock or upgraded twin turbos, this is a nice option for you. Speaking of which, a lot of you guys have asked me about my Dynamic Autowerks turbos that I upgraded a couple of years back. And I'm going to give you guys an update in this video because otherwise just showing you how to install those isn't much of a video because you guys could have figured that out yourself. But why don't we go for a drive and we'll talk about how these turbos are performing and talk about the future of this car. So before we go for a ride in the N54, I should let you know that I haven't been running it to its full potential because I've just been enjoying this car and pushing this car. It's still stock. So this car is not running on ethanol at the moment. It's just running an off-the-shelf 93 octane Stage 2 Plus tune with the upgraded turbos. So it's still plenty fast and making good power, but I'm just enjoying it more as a manual. Now this is a pretty crappy dyno plot. So I had a bad boost solenoid when I did this dyno. It was after I got the car running with its new engine and it was just not building power the way it should. And I think I had a misfire as well. But regardless, that curve is really messed up looking, but the peak potential would have been closer to 560, 570 if this was able to build properly, if the boost solenoids weren't acting up. I never really made a video about this, but that's the kind of power this has been pushing for about 10,000 miles almost in 2 years. more than 24 PSI, be making over 500 wheel, probably closer to 550. So while the car warms up a little bit, when I first put these turbos in, people were just calling them eBay turbos. I wasn't really too sure about their track record. I just heard good things about the company because at the end of the day, they were balanced in the US and whatnot. I believe they've earned a bit of a track record now, DAW or Dynamic Autowerks. I was never really affiliated with them, bought them with my own money at a slight discount, and then I linked them on eBay. From what I understand, the 750 RS or the Stage 2 Plus 775 RS turbos, they go for around $1,600-1,700 and they perform pretty well. You're supposed to be getting better quality than like the 17Ts. And I guess it would fall somewhere between like a 17T and a 19T. I can tell you that these turbos are still performing perfectly fine. I've had zero issues on a stock exhaust with 10,000 miles and hard miles for what it's worth. Nothing crazy. I don't abuse the car. For the sake of making more content on this car, we got the B58 440i now that we're gonna make content on that. We have the G80 M3, which I haven't even really started to make content on. I wanna go single turbo on this car, looking at the SpeedTech bottom mount. I understand they're coming out with a top mount kit. I'm in talks with that company. The only question for me now was which turbo do I go with? I've pretty much decided on the Precision 6266 Gen 2. And honestly, I'm planning on not running any ethanol. It's kind of a pain to mix that. That's why I'm running just 93 in this right now. I'm gonna run just 93 octane and try to get 550 wheel because that'll coincide with leaving the motor stock. And then maybe, down the road, we could look into building the motor and running a stronger clutch and mixing ethanol to push like 750, 800 wheel. But that's just to be a dyno queen at that point for the sake of proving concept for content for you guys. You can't really put that power down on these cars unless you're going for like high-speed rolls and whatnot. So I can tell you that these turbos were kind of maxed out at 550 wheel. That's about 24 PSI. Running any more PSI would be detrimental to them. They're borderline acceptable to be used with your stock exhaust. But the funny thing is 550 wheel mixing E50 is about as much power as I'll be making with the single turbo. But of course I want the single turbo noises, and I made this manual in preparation for going single turbo. So from my experience, if you guys were looking for an option that doesn't necessarily need you to rebuild them right from new because you're trying to save money and you're just looking for something that has proven to last, for me at least, I'd recommend those Stage 2 Plus turbos. I'll put an affiliate link in the description. If you're thinking of the 17Ts and ordering a rebuild kit and all that right off day one, maybe spend a couple $100 more and make over 500 wheel easy. About as much as this chassis can handle, in my opinion. Going single turbo is for the experience, it's for that sound, that typical inline six, the 2JZ old school sound, for fun, maybe with like an open dump just for the theater of it all. But if you're just looking for power for your money, nowadays, no reason to spend more than a couple grand on good quality turbos that will make over 500 wheel. The amount of supporting mods you need to be able to get more than 500 wheel makes it to where you'd want to question it anyway, because then you're going with an overdrive for your fuel pump, if you're running DI or port injection and all these other things. I got a couple other updates for you. I put the 3.08 gears back in as a manual and I'm enjoying it a lot more. Feels like it loads up third gear even better. And I'm running those B58 coils. They've been great. They've been problem free. So we'll roll on to it in a second. They have no problem getting right to redline, as expected. So that's my summary. You guys may be interested in those canisters if you have a lot of miles on your factory plastic ones, or you want something that just looks a little bit better. If you guys could leave in a comment down below with regards to what you think of the Gen 2 6266 Precision Turbo, the dual ball bearing. That's kind of where I'm going because it's twin scroll and it will spool earlier. I looked at a couple other options and kind of just landed on that. It seems to be the sweet spot in terms of a single turbo for the N54. Hopefully you guys will be interested in seeing that content. I think we'll conclude this video here. If it's the first video you're catching on mine, please consider subscribing. I do upload regularly. If you liked it, please give it a like so it'll rank higher. Thanks for watching.